Chloe squinted, leaning in and chuckling. Sarah, who do you think Robert likes more? I avoided her gaze, only to see her suddenly stumble and fall. Robert rushed over, pushing me aside to check on Chloe. My lower back hit the edge of a table, and a warm liquid flowed down my legs, the cry for help from the 3-month-old fetus inside me. He knelt down to brush the dust from Chloe's skirt, then looked up and roared at me, Sarah, haven't you made enough of a scene? Only when he saw the blood did his panic last for 3 seconds before he grabbed the sanitary pad Chloe offered him and threw it at me. Go clean yourself up. Don't be embarrassing. He left with Chloe. Before I passed out, I called my best friend. When I woke up again, I was in a hospital bed. After blood tests and an ultrasound, the doctor gave the diagnosis, threatened miscarriage. There was no longer a heartbeat. For years into our marriage, Robert, who never posted anything, updated his Instagram feed for the first time. The caption read, "Truly a greedy little gluttonous cat." The photo showed a girl wearing a pink cat ear headband, her cheeks red and tongue sticking out from eating spicy tacos. It was Chloe, a new live stream host from his office. Within a minute, a mutual friend commented, "Bro, you forgot to switch accounts." Robert's new post vanished like a fleeting moment, but soon reappeared on Chloe's Twitter profile. Then Robert's phone call came in. Before, I would have already taken a screenshot, saved it, and called him immediately to confront him. There's no way it would have ended without a fight. But this time, I thoughtfully waited until the phone call ended on its own without picking up. By the time Robert got home, I was almost asleep curled up on the sofa. He took off his jacket and bent down to change his shoes. "Why didn't you answer your phone?" Robert rarely probed like this, unless he felt he was in the wrong. Without lifting my head, I gave a dismissive answer. I accidentally fell asleep and didn't hear it. I had to work overtime unexpectedly and got back late. You don't have to wait for me every time, making yourself look so pathetic. If it were before, I would have loudly insisted it was because I loved him. But now, there was no point in arguing. Robert handed me a square velvet box and motioned for me to open it. Today was the day Robert's company went public. To celebrate him, I had left work early as usual, bought groceries and cooked dinner myself, then waited for Robert to come home. But I waited half the night and he still didn't come home as he'd promised. Pretending not to smell the strong odor of spicy tacos on him, I took the box and casually placed it on the coffee table. I had seen this box once before, when Robert missed my birthday. The letter pattern on it hadn't changed at all. Robert stared at the box for a moment, his brow furrowed slightly, his voice low. "Sarah, can you stop being so willful?" Buying me gifts and jewelry was Robert's usual way of smoothing things over. As long as I accepted the gift, the unpleasantness between us would be covered up, and no one would mention it again. But now I didn't want to take the easy way out, so naturally, he was going to get angry. "Let me put it on for you." Without giving me a chance to refuse, he opened the box and took out the bracelet inside, intending to put it on me. But he froze when he saw I was already wearing an identical one. "Just leave it there. Go to bed early, you have work tomorrow." I pulled back my hand and got up from the sofa, preparing to go to the bedroom to sleep. "Maybe I can have my assistant go with you to pick out a different one another day?" I replied coolly, "No need." Perhaps feeling guilty about buying the same gift, Robert suggested we go to the office together. I didn't refuse, citing a physical reason for not wanting to drive. Robert stood in front of his car, his brows furrowed almost to a knot. I don't know when it started, but Robert had grown to hate me riding in his car, and absolutely forbade me from sitting in the passenger seat, forcing me to buy my own car. Perhaps it was because I used to fight with him like a lunatic over the right to his passenger seat, and he got fed up. But now, to pick up and drop off Chloe, his car was specifically filled with numerous cat-themed plush toys and decorated with many cute simple stickers. Even the passenger seat had been specially redesigned just to make Chloe, who was petite, more comfortable. But seeing me waiting nearby, he finally opened the car door and bent down to put the plush toys in the back seat. Watching him move things back and forth, I frowned and said, "Never mind. I'll go to the office myself." Robert tossed the last cat plushie into the back seat. "Let's still go together." Chloe is lively and just loves playing with these little things. Don't mind them. Looking at the pink seat in his car, which clashed with the entire interior design, I refused. I thought, it's still pretty off-putting. I opened my car door, but Robert quickly stepped in front of me and got into the driver's seat. I'll drive. We said we'd go together. I watched him for a moment, not missing the flicker of discomfort in his eyes. So he knew it was inappropriate to set up the passenger seat like that. Robert seemed like he wanted to say more and explain, but I urged him, we'll be late. Just drive. He then pressed his lips together and started the car. While waiting at a red light, his phone rang. It was clearly a custom ringtone. A whiny voice came from the other end, accompanied by faint sobs. Robert, my tummy hurts so bad. I think I ate something bad yesterday. I need Robert to take me to the hospital. Robert, hurry! Robert is the best. After hanging up the phone, Robert didn't even look at me or say another word. He immediately turned the steering wheel, pulled the car over to the side of the road, and quickly unbuckled my seatbelt. He said without room for refusal, an employee isn't feeling well. I need to go check on her. We're almost at the office, you can walk the rest of the way. Before I could even close the door after getting out, Robert had already started the car and sped away. Honestly, almost no one walked to work at that time. When the red light turned green, a scooter probably didn't expect anyone to be using the crosswalk and turned the corner, hitting me head-on. I had scrapes of varying degrees on my hands, legs, and forehead. The nurse applied medicine and put a patch on my forehead, reminding me, try to avoid getting it wet for the next few days. Don't take baths, and apply the medicine on time. After leaving the hospital, I took a taxi to the office. The taxi driver had 2 phones mounted in his car, one for navigation, the other playing Chloe's live stream. The chat was full of concerned comments. Oh, thank you everyone for your concern, meow meow is fine. Luckily Robert came in time, no need to go to the hospital after all. No, I haven't confessed to Robert yet everyone, stop spreading rumors. Robert is right here watching. Yes, Robert is super gentle. I looked down at my phone. There were 2 messages on WeChat filled with anger and impatience. My assistant tells me you weren't at today's project planning meeting? Where did you go? Get to the office immediately. I just asked you to walk a little ways. What are you throwing a fit about now? Some people are just ridiculously hypocritical. That evening, after applying my medicine, I was curled up on the sofa watching TV. Behind me, I heard the sound of the lock being unlocked, followed by Robert's slightly sarcastic voice. I actually thought you had learned your lesson and hadn't shown any temper lately. Turns out you were just waiting for me here. Presumably because the TV was too loud, he quickly walked over and pulled the plug. Sarah, do you have any sense at all? We've been prepping for this project meeting for half a month. Do you know how much money the office will lose if the project is delayed? I looked up, meeting his face full of disgust, and saw him freeze in place. He stared at the patch on my forehead, then saw my exposed hands and legs that were drying, and frowned. What happened to your injuries? I averted my gaze and said casually, nothing much. I just got hit by a car on my way to work. Robert's eyes flickered. He walked over, feeling a bit guilty, intending to check my injuries. Why didn't you call me? I dodged his touch and shrugged dismissively, it's just a small injury, nothing much. I figured the employee was more important. Would calling him have done any good? He'd just pick up the phone and immediately launch into baseless accusations and complaints without asking why I was calling. Did he ever really care what I wanted to say when I called? He never came when I called before, so what makes him think it would be any different now? Robert was provoked by my words. He stood up and sneered, Sarah, do you need to be so sarcastic? It was wrong of me to leave you on the side of the road, but are you a child? You can't even walk without getting hit by a car? I looked at him in silence. See, even a simple statement of fact would be met with his sarcastic mockery, calling me immature. I decided not to bother with him and got up to go back to the bedroom. Seeing my difficulty walking, Robert's expression softened slightly. He sighed and came over to help me. I'll sleep with you tonight. It'll be easier to take care of you. Robert hadn't gone to bed before midnight in a long time. Because Chloe said she was constantly being criticized by viewers in her live streams and was afraid she might get depressed, she insisted he stay with her during her streams. So Robert would go to his study/home office every night, working while watching her stream. From time to time, he'd connect with the live stream host for SWET interactions. I had fought with him about it, crying and making a scene, but nothing could change his mind. Robert stubbornly insisted he was just working, and finally threatened me with divorce. I had no choice but to compromise. I didn't refuse his suggestion. But just as he reached out to hold me, I softly said, "Robert, let's get a divorce." Bringing up divorce had a significant impact. Robert was so angry he left on the spot and didn't come home for a full week. This was his usual reaction after I made him angry, and it also showed he didn't care at all about what I said. Before, his passive aggression like this would leave me tormented in mind and body, unable to sleep, calling him over and over again to apologize tirelessly, humbly begging for forgiveness. But now I was busy looking for a new job and had no time to worry about him. After all, I couldn't possibly keep working at Robert's office after the divorce. One day after leaving work, Robert called. His reaching out was another way of offering a way back down. If I refused, it meant I was being unreasonable. We met our performance goals for the first half of the year. The business unit is having a reception/party tonight. Let's go together later. I waited near the entrance of the office for almost 20 minutes before Robert finally arrived, late, with Chloe. "Sarah, I get carsick." Robert asked me to sit in the passenger seat. "You don't mind, right, Sarah?" Robert gripped the steering wheel, watching me nervously, as if afraid I'd lose my mind and tear Chloe apart. But I calmly opened the back passenger door. After all, the passenger seat wasn't meant for me anyway. The whole way, listening to Chloe constantly finding things to talk about and flirting with Robert, I just quietly watched the scenery outside the car. Robert, however, was unusually poker-faced towards her, rarely replying, and occasionally glancing up at the rearview mirror. When we arrived at the hotel, Robert's Good Friday and Mark came out to greet us, speaking very politely. "Hello, Sarah. Aw, look at me, I've been so busy, I completely forgot to send you a message." Mark was Robert's good friend and fully aware of what Robert had been up to. When Robert was bringing Chloe along, he would usually not invite me because I always ended up making a scene and making things awkward for Robert. "It's fine. I'll just stay for a bit and then leave." Mark looked surprised, his mouth opening, but he didn't say anything. The reception/party began. After socializing with his drink for a while, Robert came and sat beside me, holding a piece of cake. "Eat something. You didn't eat this afternoon, you must be hungry now." Just as I was about to refuse, Chloe came over holding her phone. She was live streaming. "Robert, you were here. Meow meow couldn't find you." "Oh, are you talking about Sarah?" "Sarah didn't eat tonight, that's why Robert brought her this little cake. Robert and I are really not a couple." I quickly turned my head away to avoid being in the frame, then got up and left. I stood on the balcony of the corridor, getting some air. A short while later, Robert followed me, his tone a little uneasy. I didn't expect Chloe to start live streaming. What she said in the chat wasn't true. I was just going along with her during our usual calls to help with the stream's effect. I've already told her to turn it off. I nodded indifferently and turned back to the reception/party. On stage, the host was speaking about the company's future blueprint. Chloe walked up to me holding a glass of champagne, clinking the rim against my drink, smiling sweetly and charmingly. "Sarah, my fans all say Robert and I are the perfect match. Who do you think he likes more, you or me?" I turned my head away. "You should ask him that. But I think he probably likes you more." Chloe narrowed her eyes, leaning in and chuckling, "Really? I think so too." My gut told me something was wrong, and I wanted to step back. But unexpectedly, Chloe had already fallen backward onto the ground. Before I could react, someone forcefully shoved my shoulder. My lower back hit the edge of the table hard, spilling the drinks on the table onto the floor. My lower abdomen suddenly started aching severely, making my head spin. I struggled to hold onto the table, clutching my abdomen, feeling a hot flow running down my thighs. Robert tenderly helped Chloe up, then ignored everyone present and yelled at me, "Sarah, when are you going to stop acting crazy? You." Seeing me bleeding, as if realizing something, his eyes widened in disbelief, his voice trembling. You're pregnant?" Robert frantically pulled out his phone, wanting to call an ambulance. Chloe came over, took his hand, and then pulled a sanitary pad from her purse, handing it to me carefully. "Sarah, did you leak? Maybe you should change it." Robert's hand paused on his phone. He looked at me in silence for a few seconds, then, with an expression of embarrassment, threw the sanitary pad from Chloe's hand into my arms. "Go take care of it immediately. Don't make a spectacle of yourself here." With that, he took Chloe's hand and walked away. Whenever Chloe was around, we couldn't even maintain a facade of harmony. I forced myself to walk outside, enduring the pain, and took out my phone to call my best friend. "Emily, can you come pick me up and take me to the hospital?" I closed my eyes, my voice hoarse. "I think I'm having a miscarriage." As the words left my mouth, a strong dizziness suddenly hit me. I heard hurried footsteps beside me, accompanied by an anxious voice. My vision went black, and I fell into a warm embrace. After blood tests and an ultrasound, the doctor gave the diagnosis: threatened miscarriage. There was no longer a heartbeat. After the DC procedure, Emily brought me a bouquet of lilies. "What can I say about you? The baby is gone, and you're giving up on the marriage too. Are you really willing to let go of Robert?" As the anesthesia wore off, my face was still a bit pale, and the smile on my lips was faint. A baby. After giving up on Robert, I hadn't planned on having one. He wasn't worth having a child for. As for my marriage to Robert, he was the one who gave up on it first. Since you've made up your mind, I'm sure our top-notch lawyer will help you make a powerful comeback. Isn't that right, Michael? Michael nodded in agreement. Preparing the divorce agreement is quick, but given your situation, I recommend being prepared for a court battle. I smiled at him gratefully. Thank you for your trouble, thank you. Whether it was about what happened at the hotel or the divorce, Michael understood what I meant and gently curved his lips into a smile. You're welcome. I took 3 days off due to illness. Robert hadn't contacted me, and naturally, I didn't pay him any mind. After what happened last time, he had transferred the project to someone else. Whether I was at the office or not didn't matter. It was just that when I went back to work, I ran into Chloe coming out of the office. She excitedly blocked my path, her tone challenging. "Heard you were sick, Sarah. You're out of the hospital so quickly? Did you lose the baby?" I looked sharply at her, my gaze piercing. "You did that on purpose?" It wasn't a fake fall to gain favor, but because she knew I was pregnant? Chloe looked surprised. "You really lost it? Oh dear. I was just guessing, but it's your fault for not being steady on your feet, not strong enough to handle a fall." "Aw." Chloe covered her slapped face, saying angrily, "What are you doing?" As she spoke, she caught sight of Robert quickly approaching out of the corner of her eye. She dropped her angry demeanor, tears welling up, and ran towards Robert. "Robert, I was just trying to be nice and show Sarah concern, but she hit me." Robert saw her red face and couldn't stand it anymore. He turned to me, "Sarah, haven't you caused enough trouble? Taking time off when you're not even sick is one thing, but the office is not the place for you to vent your emotions. If you want to fight and make a scene, go somewhere else." Chloe looked at me triumphantly, mouthing words to show off. "See how you're going to compete with me now." I watched the two of them with a cold gaze, then turned and walked away without looking back. This kind of garbage, whoever wants it can have it. I made myself some chicken soup and went back to the bedroom to catch up on sleep. Being weak, I needed more sleep, so I slept straight through until evening. After washing up, the healthy meal I ordered on my phone arrived. As luck would have it, Robert also happened to get home. But I ignored him, set the food on the table for myself, and served myself a bowl of soup. As soon as Robert entered the house, he headed straight for the kitchen to heat milk. He paused when he saw the soup on the table, then put the milk he'd taken from the fridge back. His expression and tone were uncharacteristically softened. "Thank you for specially making soup for me." I frowned. "It's for me. Don't touch it." Robert's hand froze midway to the soup bowl. He looked incredulous, then his face darkened. "Sarah, you know perfectly well my stomach isn't good." I said calmly, "I did know your stomach wasn't good. That's why I left work early every day. I, who originally couldn't cook, would personally buy groceries after a tiring day, read all sorts of guides and take notes, just hoping to take care of your stomach. But what about you? You were out with someone else looking for excitement. You left me alone, waiting with the hot food as it slowly grew cold. Just like my heart. No matter how warm it is, there will come a day when it turns cold." I continued nonchalantly, "But that was all in the past. Don't you like Chloe? Go find her to cook for you." Seeing me calmly drinking the soup, Robert stared at me with a cold face for a while, then stifled his frustration and went back to the kitchen to heat his milk himself. After cleaning up and going back to the bedroom, I found Robert had already showered and was leaning against the headboard, looking at his phone. Seeing me enter, he immediately put down his phone and looked at me with burning eyes. "Let's go to bed early tonight too." I bypassed him and got into bed on my own. But soon a body pressed against my back. Robert put his arm around my waist, his tone unusually gentle. "It feels like it's been a long time since I've spent time with you. How about we have a baby?" He lowered his head to kiss me. When I evaded him, a spark flashed in his eyes. Angrily, he pinned me beneath him and pressed down heavily. I viciously bit his lip, then raised my hand and slapped him. Robert covered his bleeding lip, suppressing his anger as he said with restraint, "Sarah, after being married for so many years, is it wrong for me to want a child with you? Even if you're angry about Chloe, there's a limit." I looked at him, my gaze devoid of warmth. "I told you, I want a divorce. If you want a child, go find someone else to have one with. There are naturally people more willing than me." Robert seemed as if he hadn't heard what I said, his eyes fixed on me, jaw clenched. "Sarah, what did you say? Say that again if you dare." "I want a divorce." Robert was silent for a long time, then laughed in anger. "Are you sure you've thought this through?" I blinked. What else would I do? Robert got out of bed and put on his clothes, looking at me with a face full of contempt, his gaze cold. "Your tactics are truly endless. I underestimated you." He slammed the bedroom door shut so hard it echoed through the house. Robert didn't come home for half a month straight. When I ran into him at the office, his face was completely cold. But his Instagram feed, which he never updated, suddenly became active. Lately, it seemed he was living with Chloe. For the evening streams, he did and even need to connect remotely. He just sat next to her and talked, afraid his friends in the circle wouldn't know, so he specifically posted the stream replay to his feed. All sorts of intimate photos showing off their affection, matching couple rings, matching phone cases, couple check-in spots. Chloe's fans were screaming "too sweet" and "locked in." Before, if Robert posted on Instagram, I would have checked it dozens of times overnight. But now, I wasn't interested at all. Looking at the latest offer I received on my computer, I submitted my resignation letter to HR at the office. At the office, I was nominally the boss's wife, so the resignation process was approved the very next day, unusually smoothly. By the time the process was forwarded to Robert, I had already completed onboarding at the new office. And inevitably, I had to work a little overtime. When I got home and opened the door, I saw Robert, who should have been out on a boating trip with Chloe. It wasn't that I paid much attention to him. It was because Chloe was quite a popular livestream host, and several male colleagues at the new office were her fans. They were constantly scrolling through her feed during lunch break, so it was hard not to know. I put down my bag and changed my shoes. Robert followed behind me, his face sour. "Don't you have anything to say?" I was puzzled. "About what?" Robert's voice was so low it dripped with tension. "Can the office not afford you? You're resigning? Or is this just a new tactic, besides divorce, that you're using to threaten me? I silently looked into his eyes, then stated clearly, divorce is not a tactic to threaten you, and neither is quitting my job. From now on, I won't interfere with anything you do, and I hope you won't interfere with my decisions either. I noticed Robert's knuckles were turning white as he clenched his fists, but I only glanced for a second before looking away. Over the next few days, Robert consistently left work on time, then drove several miles out of his way to pick me up downstairs at my office after I left work. The custom seat and decorations in his car were removed at some point, replaced with the original setup. Seeing me come out of the office, he straightened up from leaning against the car door and walked towards me. A new colleague passing by joked, "Sarah, is that your husband? He's really good to you, picking you up every day." I smiled back. Not for much longer. The colleague walked away awkwardly. Robert's expression shifted slightly, but he still insisted, "Sarah, I've had HR hold your position. You can come back when you're not angry anymore." I didn't say anything. I was still getting used to the pace of the new job and felt a bit tired. Robert just turned and started driving. As we got close to home, his phone screen lit up. The next second, a video call popped up. Robert quickly reached out to hang up, but accidentally hit the answer button. Chloe looked as if she was about to cry. "Robert, it's fine if you don't have time for me, but why did you delete your Instagram post? Are you starting to hate meow meow? Your fans said they haven't seen you in days and they're really sad." Robert said quickly, "I'm driving. I'll talk to you later." He ended the call, glanced at me nervously, and started to explain, "I haven't been live streaming with her recently, and the Instagram post was just because." I interrupted in a low voice, "You don't need to tell me. I truly don't care at all, and I don't want to know." Robert pressed his lips together and fell silent. The new office was a bit far, and the daily commute was tiring. I planned to buy a new apartment after the divorce. I called Michael to ask about the progress of the divorce agreement. His voice on the other end was gentle and firm. "There are no issues. Let's set up a time to talk in detail another day." Okay. The office assigned a new project, but the partner was Robert's company. A former colleague, Jing, who I used to work with, met me at the office entrance looking surprised. "Sarah, it's you." I nodded, holding the files, and went with her to the reception area/waiting room. After waiting and drinking coffee for a while, Jing came back looking apologetic. "I'm sorry, Sarah, Mr. Robert said he'd like you to come to his office to talk." There was a knock on the office door. "Sarah, you're here?" Robert looked up and saw me, a flicker of light in his eyes. He gestured me to a sofa on the side. "Have a seat here. I'll make you some coffee." I opened the proposal, reviewing a few key points again, when the office door was pushed open. I thought it was Robert, but to my surprise, the proposal in my hand was suddenly snatched away. Chloe furiously threw the proposal aside, glaring at me as she demanded, "Why are you here? Didn't you already resign?" Her entitled attitude made it seem like she was the owner of the place to anyone who didn't know better. Seeing I didn't speak, she laughed. "Could it be you found out Robert and I are together and came here to cause a scene? But I can tell you, you have no chance anymore. Everyone online knows Robert is going to marry me. If you try to squeeze in now, you'll just be a mistress." Robert brought the coffee in and put it on the table, frowning. "Why are you here? Don't just say anything." Chloe immediately ran to his side, wrapped her arms around his arm, pouting and acting coy. "Well, that's just because Robert didn't come find me, so I had to come find you myself. And what am I making up? Robert clearly promised me before. Robert, I even prepared a surprise for you today. I guarantee you'll love it." I picked up the proposal and stood up. "If Mr. Robert is busy, perhaps we can discuss this another day." Chloe immediately gave me a look of disdain. "Of course Robert isn't busy. And you're completely in the way here." Robert immediately stopped her, saying nervously and apologetically, "I'm sorry, just give me a few minutes." He pulled the reluctant Chloe into the lounge/break room. A few minutes later, he came out alone. The project content was actually quite simple. Both companies had already negotiated the details, now it was just a matter of reviewing the proposal and signing. Robert put down his pen after signing and cautiously asked for my opinion. Sarah, it's almost time to leave work. How about we grab dinner together before you go back? No, I still have. Robert! Chloe suddenly yanked open the lounge/break room door. She was wearing a complete set of black cat lingerie, with 2 furry ears on her head and a tail hanging down to the floor behind her. The moment she stood there, the office instantly transformed into the setting for some kind of play. She glanced at me triumphantly, shook the square box in her hand, and spoke deliberately in a sugary sweet voice. Robert, we used up the last box. Want to open another one? We don't have to either. Meow meow just loves cuddling with Robert. Robert stared at her, his face filled with shock. Then he frantically turned to look at me, his face paler than ever. No, Sarah, nothing happened. Let me explain. It's not what you think. You have to believe me. I gathered the signed documents, my heart calm. You don't need to explain anything to me. Whatever you do with whoever is none of my business. Robert stared at my expressionless face, his eyes slowly turning red. He grabbed my hand. Sarah, are you truly not bothered at all? Don't you love me anymore? I frowned with a hint of disgust, pulled my hand away, and glanced at Chloe, who was seething with anger. Should I close the door for you? When I got home, Robert, unusually, put on an apron and went into the kitchen. Seeing me, he immediately came out of the kitchen, clutching the edge of his apron and looking at me nervously. You're back? I specially made a table full of dishes. We can eat right away. I looked at his hands. His left hand had 2 or 3 band-aids on it, and his thumb was red. In all the time Robert and I were together, I never once let him cook a meal. At most, he might have washed some vegetables when we first got married. If he wanted something to eat, I'd learn to make it. I cut my hands, burned my skin, but I never complained, only hoping to give him what he wanted. But what did he say? He said it was the lowliness that came from my very bones, that I was willingly degrading myself, bringing suffering upon myself. Seeing how careful and nervous he was, I smiled mockingly. Robert, who are you being pathetic for now? Robert hid his hands behind his back, lowering his gaze to conceal the disappointment in his eyes. His forced smile was full of bitterness, and he said hoarsely, Sarah, I just wanted to apologize. Nothing really happened between me and Chloe. Today, she acted completely on her own. His phone rang, interrupting his unfinished sentence. It was Mark. Bro, quick, look at Chloe's stream. She's threatening suicide in the chat, saying you don't want her, being dramatic about life and death. You should check on her. What if she actually does something? Robert looked at me, his expression stiffening. I turned to leave, but he grabbed my arm. Sarah, I'll just go check on her and be right back. If something really happens to her, the office will definitely be affected, and you've put effort into the office too. You can understand, right? I couldn't be bothered to listen to him drone on. I gave him a small smile. You're right. You should go quickly. A flicker of relief crossed Robert's eyes. Sarah, don't worry, I'll be back quickly, and then I'll make you a late-night snack. After Robert left, the world fell silent. I opened my laptop to look at the divorce agreement and marital property division agreement Michael had sent. I had just finished reading one document when my phone suddenly started buzzing. I opened it and countless text messages popped up, along W. If constant Twitter DMs, why doesn't that old hag hurry up and die? Are you so wrinkly you have to take off your pants to seduce men? How pathetic! I quickly skimmed a few messages. They were all insults, mostly mentioning Chloe. I frowned, turned off my incessantly buzzing phone, and used my computer to open Chloe's stream. Over there, Robert had arrived. Chloe, who was still live streaming, was leaning against him, sobbing and whining about how she'd been wronged, looking utterly pitiful. Meanwhile, the viewers in the chat were indignant, threatening to expose me, the mistress who ruined their relationship. I scoffed, logged onto Twitter, posted a photo of our marriage certificate and tagged Chloe. Then, with calm satisfaction, I watched Chloe's fans freak out and jump around before closing my laptop. The next day was Saturday, and I had scheduled a meeting with Michael. After we finished talking, Michael drove me home, where we ran into Robert waiting by the front door. He didn't usually smoke, but there was a pile of cigarette butts at his feet. He looked up and saw me, quickly walking over. He gripped my shoulders tightly, his eyes bloodshot, his voice full of hatred. "Sarah, how the hell could you? You were pregnant and you secretly had an abortion behind my back? Are you insane? If the internet hadn't dug it up, you would have kept me in the dark forever. That was my child. What right did you have to take his life? You really are as vicious as you always were." I pulled free from his grip and stepped back to stand beside Michael, looking at him coldly. "What are you going crazy about now?" Robert's gaze fell on Michael, and he sneered. "Already found your next guy? Fine. You wanted a divorce, didn't you? The divorce agreement is probably already prepared, isn't it? I'll sign it right now." I had enough. I handed him the divorce agreement I had finalized with Michael. "Then there's nothing left to say. Since that's the case, let's part ways amicab. Ly." Robert picked up the pen and paused, his bloodshot eyes scanning my lower abdomen. He signed the document in a few quick strokes, then threw the agreement at me, his voice hoarse. "Sarah, you truly have no heart." I scoffed inwardly. Who could be more heartless than Robert? Getting the marriage certificate was surprisingly smooth. Robert left looking utterly defeated. I called out to him, "Wait. Don't you want to know when I had the miscarriage?" He looked up at me with a despondent gaze. I slowly said, "The day of the reception/party. When Chloe saw I was pregnant and faked her fall, and then you forcefully pushed me away." Robert looked as if he had been struck by lightning, completely frozen in place. But I felt it wasn't enough. "Do you remember now? It was you. For another woman, you killed your own child. You don't know, the bleeding, it took so long to stop." My phone was flooded with texts and DMs again. Netizens kept messaging me to apologize and urged me to move on. They said it was okay to be blind for a while, but not to keep wasting my life on a scumbag. Emily also called, her mood high. I could even hear Michael trying to calm her down next to her. While Chloe was live streaming and talking about her future with her fans, Robert suddenly went crazy and showed up at her place. He cursed her out in the stream, and by the end, he even got physical. The viewers were watching the drama unfold and calling the police. They both got taken to the police station. It was hilarious. Robert was a leader at the office, and assaulting his own live stream host in a stream quickly landed him on the trending topics online. Labels like cheating, mistress, and assault were plastered all over them. For Robert's company, this was a major incident. The negative impact skyrocketed, severely damaging the company's image, and the stock, which had just started doing well after going public, suddenly crashed. After Robert was released on bail, he was overwhelmed with problems. When I saw him again, I had already been living in my newly bought apartment for a month. He had lost a lot of weight, his cheeks noticeably sunken. Although he had clearly made an effort to look presentable, the dark circles under his eyes made him look very haggard. He walked towards me holding a bouquet of flowers. He knelt on one knee before me, his eyes holding a sincerity I had never seen before. "Sarah, I've thought a lot during this time. I was such a jerk before. I didn't see Chloe for who she really was. The office has already fired her, and I won't contact her again. From now on, I'll only be devoted to you, and we'll live a good life together, then have a cute baby. I'll love and protect you both forever. Sarah, I know I was wrong. Will you forgive me?" When Robert's company was just starting out, he also knelt before me and proposed like this. At the time, I didn't understand that Robert marrying me was just him wanting to escape the heavy pressure of life and career, looking for a temporary home where he could rest. And I just happened to love him that much. Later, life turned upside down, his career flourished, and he began to regret his past impulse, seeking new thrills outside to compensate for what he lacked. Perhaps there was sincerity once, but sincerity is fleeting. The surprise and emotion I felt back then were long gone from my heart. I turned my head and looked at Mark, who was standing some distance away holding a phone. My expression was cold. Robert, am I just a tool for you to restore the company's image? Are you expecting me to bear the consequences of your own mistakes? How dare you? We're divorced, and you still insist on coming here to disgust me? I turned to leave, but Robert reached out and clutched the hem of my clothing. He dropped to both knees, his eyes bloodshot, his voice helpless and bitter. Sarah, I'm begging you. I truly know I was wrong. The live stream clarification was unavoidable, but I don't want to divorce you. Please don't leave me. I pulled my hand away with disgust, ignoring his desperate pleas. Don't touch me. You're dirty. Robert looked at my undisguised expression of disgust, his lips moving slightly. Finally, he gave a self-mocking tug at the corner of his stiff mouth and slowly got up and left. Because of Robert's major personal blunder, the company suffered severe damage. His personal shares were all sold to compensate for the losses, and he was voted off the board of directors. I adapted well to the work at the new office and quickly became a permanent employee. Emily dragged Michael to a place to celebrate with me. As soon as I arrived, Emily kept waving at me. As soon as I sat down, she thrust her phone in front of my face. Look, my ex-brother-in-law is live streaming. Robert seemed to be at home, but he looked drunk, leaning back in a chair with glazed eyes and a flushed face. There were many empty bottles of alcohol beside him. The chat was filled with comments like scumbag and cheap woman, what's the point of regretting it now? He killed his own child for a mistress and has the nerve to play the victim here? Unbelievable. Just answer, did you ever really love her? Robert didn't seem bothered by the insults, but when he saw that comment, he lifted his eyes slightly and spoke with a nostalgic tone. Before, I didn't understand why I had to hide things from her when I went out, why I didn't want her to know, or why I had to find ways to brush it off if she found out. It was because I was scared. Scared that if she knew, she would leave me like this. I did love her. Why else would I have married her? The chat was flooded with comments like scumbag and so pathetic. After a long pause, a comment popped up, not doing the suicide performance today? Wasting my data. I withdrew my gaze and stopped watching. Emily put away her phone, shaking her head with a TSK. What a jerk. And Chloe. I heard after she swit. Ched streaming platforms, her fans disfigured her. I don't even know if she's out of the hospital yet. I smiled and shook my head. I had moved on from the past, I didn't care anymore. Michael opened a bottle of red wine, looking at Emily with fondness. Don't let others spoil your mood. Today we're celebrating Sarah. I raised my glass and smiled. Yes, here's to a promising future.